Hello everyone, welcome. So I am here to do my book review for March, and again I got through 6 books. It seems to be what I average. I'm hoping to increase that a little bit. So I will start with the first book that I finished this month, and that is by Anna Lee Huber, and it's the Lady Darby mystery, and this is the second book in the series called Mortal Arts. And I did finish the first book, and I really enjoyed this series. It takes place in the 1830s in Scotland, and in the first book, this woman, Lady Darby, is a widow, and she was actually in abusive marriage. Her first husband was an anatomist, and he dissected bodies, and then he wrote books and that sort of thing about it. And the only reason he married her was because she was an artist, and he forced her to draw the bodies as he was dissecting them. He ended up dying, and then she went on trial because it wasn't ladylike to be drawing dissected bodies back then, but she was put on trial and then she was acquitted. And then she ended up traveling to the countryside to live with her sister and her brother-in-law, who are wealthy. And in the first book, she meets this Sebastian Gage, who's like an investigator, and together they solved a mystery, or like a murder mystery, in the first book. In the second book, they're traveling, the family is traveling to Edinburgh because her sister has a high-risk pregnancy, and they're traveling there to get some medical care. And on the way, they stop by a friend of Lady Darby's who is getting married. And there is his older brother was actually supposed to kind of become the Lord and inherit the title and that sort of thing. But when he returned from the war, he had PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. So what's fascinating about this book is they do delve into PTSD, or shell shock back then, and how a lot of people just assume that whoever did get shell shock were cowards and were not strong, and etc, etc, etc. So they really didn't know how to treat these people back then, and it was just kind of sad how they were treated in that. So it's interesting how they delve into the PTSD of this. So there is a woman missing, and they assume it was this brother who is suffering from PTSD, because he does a lot of drawing, and the drawings are kind of horrific, some of them. So Lady Darby and kind of this love interest, Sebastian Gage, he shows up again, and they try to kind of solve this mystery and that sort of thing. So I really do enjoy the series. There's mystery, there's history. I just really like the characters. I like Sebastian, and I do like Lady Darby, their characters. So I'm enjoying that series. And the next book is by Geraldine Brooks, and I guess she was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize at one point. I'm not sure if I think it's maybe for the book called March, but I'm not sure. But this is called People of the Book, and I love the cover. So I always like a book with a map on it. So this one is, if you love history, you'd probably enjoy this book. It's very slow paced, however, so if you don't like anything that's historical or slow paced, this is not for you. I love history, and this covers many different time periods and what life was like. So in the former Yugoslavia, there is the Civil War in the 1990s, and it was a devastating war, and this woman is called to Sarajevo. They found this very rare, very old Jewish book, and so she examines it. Oh my God, I can't talk. So there's like a blood stain in it. There's like a piece of butterfly wing. There's other things in this booklet, and then it goes back in time. So it starts in Sarajevo, and then it traces this book back in time. And so it starts off in Sarajevo, and then it goes to Vienna, Austria, then it goes to Venice, Italy, and then Spain. So it goes back in time. to how this book traveled throughout time, and who the different owners and who actually wrote the book. And it was just such a good book. Definitely 5 out of 5 for me. I love history. I love the different time periods that happened. I learned so much about history that I wasn't even aware of. And yeah, you just find this journey throughout. And I do like the main character. She has quite a difficult relationship with her mother, to say the least. But yeah, it's just, if you like history, it's a really, really good book. And then this is by Nikki French. This is actually a husband and wife team that write these books. And this is a free decline mystery. So this is the second book in the series. So each book is named after a day of the week. So the first book was Blue Monday, and this is Tuesdays Gone. So these are not standalone books. You do have to read the first book, because there's some things that are brought up in the second book that won't make sense if you haven't read the first book. So this free decline is a psychologist, and she just got involved in a missing child case with the first book. That was really, really good. I definitely give that like 4.5 out of 5 stars, the first book. It's just really, really interesting. So many twists and turns, such a complex plot. And so this one, this is very interesting start to this book. So this social worker goes to this apartment to check on this woman who was released from a psychiatric facility. And she goes in and she finds this man decomposing on this woman's couch. And the woman's acting like it's no big deal. She's serving tea and biscuits to this dead, decomposing body on the couch. So everyone assumes that this woman is mentally ill. They put her in a psychiatric facility again, and they just assume that she murdered this man. But all these clues and everything are popping up. Free decline gets involved again, and yeah, there's just a lot of unexpected things pop up. Some very interesting psychological syndromes come up that I've never even heard of before. And yeah, there's a lot of twists and turns, and yeah, I just have a lot of fun reading these. They're not straightforward at all. There's so many twists and turns, and so I really do enjoy this series. And then I remember watching bits and pieces of this movie years ago, but not the whole thing, and that's Big Fish by Daniel Wallace. So this man's father is dying, and he just feels like he's never really gotten to know his father over the years, because his father exaggerates everything. Everything is a big story, so he doesn't really truly feel like he knows his father. And so it goes, it's sort of about his life and how he met his wife and everything. And, you know, everything's just completely exaggerated. So, yeah, I remember seeing bits and pieces of the movie. I didn't see the whole thing. So I thought, you know, I saw this for like $1 or $2 in the thrift store. So I thought I'd give it a try. But it's just not for me. It's just, I don't know. I can see why the father maybe exaggerated things. I think everyone has their own take on what this book really truly meant. I think maybe his father just didn't feel like he really did have much of a fulfilling life, so he felt to connect with his son, he had to exaggerate everything, and that was kind of his legacy. His stories were his legacy. That's my take on it. I don't know. Everyone has their own take on it. It's just not my cup of tea. That's all. And then this is Jacobi. So I think this is a young adult fiction. So this Jacobi is actually very similar to Sherlock Holmes. He's very intelligent. He notices things other people don't notice. He's very, very eccentric. So he kind of works on his own because he's had many assistants, and all those assistants have quit because he's just the things that happen and how eccentric he is. So this young woman arrives in New England in the 1890s, and it's Abigail Rook. So she needs a job, so she just ends up seeing an advertisement for an assistant for this Jacobi fellow, and she gets involved in this murder with him. And yeah, it's a fun read. I don't think you should take it seriously. It's basically Sherlock Holmes, but involving supernatural and paranormal characters and events. So yeah, he's very eccentric. I do kind of like the banter between these two. He kind of, he's the only one that kind of sees or understands that there's supernatural characters in the world, and he's trying to convince the police of this. The police know he is kind of useful, but they don't believe in all this paranormal, supernatural stuff. But anyway, it was just a fun read. I don't think it's anything to take seriously. I like the writing style. It's kind of Victorian kind of mystery, which I do like. So yeah, it was a fun read. And then this last book is a Veronica Speedwell mystery. So I've heard so many good things about this series. And this is the first book by Deanna Raybourn in the series called A Curious Beginning. So I did get this particular copy from Book Outlet. Most of the books have this kind of cover to them. So there is, I think, 7 books in the series. So this first book, A Curious Beginning. So, how do I explain this without giving too much away? So this Veronica Speedwell is an orphan. She was raised by a couple of aunts, and the last aunt has just passed away. And Veronica is used to going on all these adventures. She's like a butterfly collector. She refers to herself as a scientist because she is extremely intelligent. And she collects these butterflies from different areas of the world, and then she sells them and that sort of thing. So she's very adventurous, very independent, very intelligent. And she comes back from the funeral of her aunt, and someone is ransacking her house. And then they try to abduct her, and then she's rescued by this older gentleman. And this older gentleman takes her to London, and she is put under the care of this character called Stoker. Until they figure out what's going on. And the man who rescued her ends up being murdered. So both Stoker and Veronica flee. And we don't know much about Stoker's past. He's a naturalist also, so he travels and collects different animals and that for study. So they're quite alike in that way. So they eventually come back to London to try to solve the murder of this baron and things. So the first half of the book is just kind of get to know the characters, the banter between I always want to say Veronica and Stoker. The banter is just hilarious. I laughed out loud a few times. And then probably about the last third of the book, they finally get... it gets a lot more serious, and she knows her life is in danger, and it's a very interesting twist why all these people are kind of after her. But yeah, it's very humorous, but there's some very serious parts to this. So I'll just do one quote here. There are times when it is entirely safe to show one's vulnerability, to roll over and reveal the soft underbelly beneath. But there are other times when pain must be borne without a murmur, when the pain is so consuming that if you give in to it, even the slightest, you have lost everything. I suppose one might say the same of mental and emotional pain, as well as physical, I mused. One simply gets on with what one must do, because if one paused and looked at it full in the face, then one would never find the strength to go on. So they do get kind of serious. A lot of it's just the banter. I just love the banter, the sexual tension between these two. Oh my God, you could cut the air with a knife, these two. So they make a great couple, but they're always kind of arguing and bantering back and forth. But I just loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I just love this story. And I think there's 7 books in the series, so I'm definitely going to be continuing with this series. And then right now, I just started, I'll show you the bookmark I made. Little gray and yellow with the little stars there. But so I'm not too far into this, but this is by Theodora Goss. This is A Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. So the main character initially is Mary Jekyll from Jekyll and Hyde, the daughter, and her parents have passed away, and she's desperate for money. And then she ends up, while she's looking for this Edward Hyde, she ends up finding like Justine Frankenstein and Beatrice Rappaccini, Catherine Moreau, all these daughters of all these other characters. So yeah, it's just rave reviews about this one, and so far I'm really enjoying it, though I'm not too far into it. So anyway, that's my reading wrap up, and I hope you enjoyed. If you've read any of these books, let me know, or if you've read a book that you think I'd enjoy, let me know. And so everyone, take care, be kind, and we'll see you soon. Bye.